This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
1, 2, 3. Lovely.
Hey, good evening, everyone. It's Thursday night, it's 8 p.m., and you are welcome to the Maastricht edition on Facebook Live. I'm your co-host, Tracey, and together with the lovely Joe, we'll be bringing you our regular segments and the usual fun and games. Next to that, we'll also be joined by local author Maggie Holman and chatting a lot about books. Stay tuned.
Yay! Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Maastricht edition. Lovely to have you with us. Hi, Trace. How you doing?
Hello. I'm cold, Joe. I'm cold.
Yeah, it is a little chilly. It's just turned, isn't it? I mean, it's this country. Honestly, it's like roasty, toasty hot one minute, cold the next. And well, actually, no, it's not roasty, toasty. It is where I am because I've got all these glass windows here, and when the sun shines on it, I've been basking in 23 degrees with no heating on.
Oh,
and it's been
showing off.
I know, and it's 3 degrees outside. But yes,
well, I've got my polo neck jumper on, or turtleneck, I guess they're called. Got my little heater here at the side. So I'm just missing my mittens.
Oh yes, your lovely mittens that you got for Christmas.
I know. Do you know what? I've got a second pair in the meantime, and they're black ones. They look very fancy. Maybe I'll wear them next week. Ooh.
Oh my goodness. You know what? These are the times that we're living in that we get so excited about these little things like, oh, I've got a new pair of gloves.
Woohoo! Joe, it's the little things, you know.
It is the little things.
This is what we learn. But in any case, but yes, aside from the chilly weather, doing quite well. Thank you. Yes, another busy week. Another week over, and we're already towards the end of January. So the first month of the year is slowly ticking over, isn't it?
Yeah, but at least we've got some shops open now.
Yes, we have. So, of course, since we last spoke, there was a press conference, wasn't there? So, yes, indeed, our shops have reopened again. Non-essential shops, I guess we should clarify. And, you know, salons and businesses like that. But indeed, sadly, the cultural sector, our restaurants and theatres, is still closed for the moment. But I do have a piece in the news later. There is another press conference next week, Tuesday. And given the amount of pressure and petitions and things that have been going on recently, who knows, maybe there'll be some good news coming for that sector next week.
Yes, well, there was a little protest, wasn't there, last Saturday?
Yeah, there was indeed. Yeah, well, there was actual protests where people were marching on the street. I think up in Amsterdam, in fact. But here in Maastricht, a lot of restaurants and cafes actually opened, kind of as a show of solidarity. Really, I don't know. Honestly, we happened not to be in Maastricht that day. We were across the border in Belgium on a much needed break in the nature. But I do believe that not all restaurants opened. Some decided just to still stay closed, but many of them did, and I believe there was a few more people in the city centre than there had been for quite a while. So,
yes. Yeah, well, a friend of mine who has a pub in Sittard, he said he was umming and ahhing about whether to open or not, but he did open because the local mayor said you're allowed to open till 8 o'clock. So they said, well, do you know what? Then let's give it a go, because of course. For a lot of these bars and restaurants who have been closed for so long, it's actually an awful lot of work to open up. So to open up for one day, you know, that's and not necessarily guaranteed that they're going to make much money. You just don't know. So that's a lot of work to get everything cleaned and working and ready to open doors. So he was I don't know, because initially it was till 5 o'clock, but then the mayor said, well, how about to 8? Oh, okay, well, I'll give it a go. And he told me today they were really, really busy. Everybody was just so pleased to be out, eating, drinking, socialising.
Indeed, actually, the day before on the Friday, Valkenburg actually opened up, and my goodness, they got lucky because they had some lovely weather that day. Yes. Sadly, Saturday was a bit grey and dismal, but it was really quite a kind of holiday vibe in Valkenburg last week Friday. But who knows? Maybe as of next week, we'll hear something new. Even if it's opening these theatres and restaurants with sort of rules around them, like a certain number of people or this kind of thing. At least it will be a start, and it would allow people also the chance to get back into the kind of vibe of going out and restaurants into the groove of having people back in. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's one thing that people are definitely missing at the moment, and that's a decent hug from certain friends that they haven't seen for a while. And it turns out tomorrow is International Hugging Day.
Is it now?
It is. Now, that's a nice thing to have, isn't it? It's just a shame we can't celebrate it properly.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, people are hugging now these days a bit more. Yeah, there is
a little bit, but it seems to be. One of the things that I think has taken a slight edge of it is that you kind of look at somebody and go, "Are we hugging? Is it okay to hug?" Where before we just launch ourselves.
That's very true. Even if you didn't want the hug, you'd get one. There was that kind of thing before. Yeah. But indeed now, you're right. Actually, I've noticed that. You kind of you automatically go in and you think, oh wait, I need to check first because maybe this person, and you're sort of in this kind of limbo, no man's land area for a few seconds. But it's I have hugged a couple of people in the last couple of weeks, so that's good.
I have to say, in the last week, I've actually seen a few more people, and there has been a few hugs, and the hugs have lasted a good 10 minutes because we kind of cling to each other, going, "Oh my God, it's so good."
They'll be like, they're like, going, "Okay, we don't need to see each other now for a while. We're all hugged out." So yeah, but nice. Well, already happy National Hug Day to everyone then.
Absolutely, and actually, I've got some fun facts here about hugging because
we like a fun fact.
We like a fun fact. So there's a guy who's he's this guy called Paul Zach, who's also known as Dr. Love. Okay. And he recommends at least 8 hugs a day to be happier and enjoy better relationships.
Oh, I see.
Apparently, we need 4 hugs a day for survival. We need 8 hugs a day for maintenance. Mm-hmm. And we need 12 hugs a day for growth.
Physical growth or actual, growing
emotional, spiritual kind of growth.
Not that you go from 5'3" to 5'7" or something.
Well, that might explain why the Dutch people are all so tall, because they go around hugging all the time. Or do they? Maybe they don't.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like a hug as much as the next person. But what? 12 hugs a day?
Well, he's saying that this could be the hug threshold. It allows your body to produce ample amounts of oxytocin, which is released in response to the physical touch. It's released by the pituitary gland. We're getting all scientific now. And it's naturally occurring hormone in your body with incredibly powerful health-giving properties.
Gosh, does hugging your cat count?
Of course.
Right. So you don't necessarily need to get the hug back. You just need to hug something.
Well, yes, something that you have love for as well,
right.
or an emotional attachment. That produces even more of this. It's called a love hormone, you see, the oxytocin.
Can you hug your teddy bear, Joe? Would that count?
Of course.
I think it. Yeah. Oh, well, then actually, maybe I'm reaching my quota without realizing. Given Dave, teddy bears, and kitty cats, I'm not doing too badly.
Oh, well done you. A 20-second hug along with 10 minutes of hand holding also reduces the harmful physical effects of stress.
Wow.
Yeah, it reduces blood pressure and keeps your heart rate steady.
Gosh. Well, that's something to bottle and sell, isn't it? Does everyone know about this?
Well, they do now, obviously.
Yeah, the magic of the hug. Who knew?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we should patent that, Joe, and sell it on.
Yeah, I think so. Well, something also, of course, that keeps you very chilled and relaxed and is stress-free, of course, is reading. And we are going to be talking a little bit later with Maggie Holman, local author, who's going to be telling us all about the genre of books that she writes, what inspires her, and about herself living here in Maastricht. But before we get that far, we probably should have a look at Book of the Week.
Oh, well, let's do it. What have we got this week?
Well, we're not doing the intro anymore then, Trace.
Oh, right. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, of course. Do you want the intro, Joe? You look so disappointed there. Oh, I wish that was true. I think many people out there would really say, "Oh no, Joe, what have you done?" But anyway, just for Joe, here it is: Book of the Week, 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 Book of the week. Book of the week.
uh.
Book of the week.
Yay!
Maybe I should record it as a ringtone and just play it each week. I don't know. And leave it with me.
I love it when you're doing it. It's more personal. It's like a personal hug.
God, there you go. Well, indeed. And Book of the Week is brought to you by the English Bookstore in Maastricht.
It certainly is. And the lovely Kirsty from the English Bookstore, she has sent over colourless, here we go, colourless Sukuru Taziki and His Years of Pilgrimage.
Good Lord.
By Haruki Murakami.
Wow.
There's a mouthful for you.
That's
it's been translated. Now, you'll appreciate this actually because you like Japan.
Japanese, yeah.
It's been translated from Japanese. By a young man by the name of Philip Gabriel. The idea, this is his first novel, it came to Murakami at 29 while watching baseball. He won a New Writers Award, and then that was it. He's been writing dozens of books and becoming very, very popular. Is he somebody you're familiar with? Haruki Murakami.
I'm afraid I've not heard of this person, but I could certainly check it out.
Okay, well, as a child, Taziki had 4 friends whose names all contained a colour. His did not. Without explanation one day, his friends retreat and say they don't want to speak to him again. And Taziki's life goes on colourless and bland. He is now in his 30s and still has trouble connecting with anyone or anything. But he has met Sarah, his new girlfriend, who suggests that he try to reconnect with his old friends and find out what happened to make them leave as a way to move on. Yeah. And this is the story of his journey to try and make sense of his past. So, it's probably, there's some connection, I think, actually, with what's going on now about reconnecting with old friends and such like, because we've been so disconnected.
That's true.
Because these, the video calls and such like, there is a connection, but it's just not the same, is it?
Yeah, I mean, you get a bit of a kind of online fatigue at one point, don't you? It's a very different dynamic show.
It is a different dynamic. So anyway, this looks like a very interesting, a little deep maybe, but a very interesting book. So that's Colourless Sukuru Taziki and His Years of Pilgrimage by Haruki Murakami.
Well done, dear.
Thank you very much. And that was Book of the Week.
Yay, Book of the Week.
Thank you.
What about? Nice. Yes.
So okay. So I'm not. You're the Japanese, but I say you're the Japanese person here. I know you're a very big a fan of Japan.
Yes.
Did you try learning Japanese?
Yes, I did. I did
I thought.
Yeah. Well, you see, Jen, you're always saying you forget things.
Well, I don't.
Yeah. Yes, I did a course. Well, it was last year now, obviously. A course actually with the Maastricht University and the Hogeschool. It was a kind of combo thing in Japanese language and culture studies. Very interesting, and I mean, very level like -1 for the language, of course. But the culture side of thing was quite fascinating. Learning about the different, superstitions they have, for example, and the things that the kind of how they live around honor and saving face and all this kind of stuff, and lots more modern stuff and everything really, food and drinks and behaviors and things like that. But quite an interesting culture, still very fascinating. And we started looking at flights for this year.
Did you?
I know. I felt so rebellious. Even the idea of looking was quite exciting. It's like, oh my goodness. So I mean, it's still sadly slightly uncertain what might or might not be able to be possible, but we are hoping if things go our way, and if it is possible without too much red tape floating around, we might try and get back at the later part of this year again and revisit Tokyo and Osaka and Kyoto.
Oh, lovely.
And, I have to brush up on my studies and relearn everything. I'll have to take a refresher course in the meantime for some basic conversational Japanese. But definitely a country that has a draw, and I hope we get to visit again. So
excellent. So that'll be towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I suspect September time, September, October, so later part. So the autumn or the fall, I guess, which is apparently a very nice time to visit as well, because
Yes,
they've got a lot of
absolutely.
changing of the seasons, and it's not as busy as some other times of the year.
Lovely.
So yeah, we shall see. But nice to think about holidays and plan things,
Oh,
even if you're not.
isn't it?
I know, and we heard that the UK is opening up a bit more. So I suspect Dave and I will be on the first Eurostar to London once, if it's allowed. So that would be kind of nice as well. So you never know. Maybe in the coming months, things might start happening.
Coming up later in the show, I've got some interesting facts about the Eurotunnel, actually. So, But in the meantime, you're making plans for later on in the year. Maybe you want to make some plans for the coming week. And although there doesn't seem that there's that much going on, we do have some top tips from Cristina from Maastricht.com. So let's head on over to Cristina and see what out and about tips she has for us this week.
Fabulous.
Hello, it's Cristina from the Maastrichter and Mycroft, who insisted on sitting with me, which doesn't usually happen. As we heard on Friday, the shops are open, yay, so things are moving in the right direction, but the theatres remain closed. However, you can still support them by buying tickets for the upcoming performances. They all have really good seasons online, especially at Theatre and Het Vrijthof. They have some really good international things in their programme. So check it out, and you can book up, I think, until June even. And things will definitely be open by then, so go for it. On that subject, I wanted to mention a protest that is happening, which I just think is really cool and something just to be aware of. So by the time you watch this, it will have been yesterday, Wednesday the 19th, and it's called Cap Salon. And around 20 theatres are involved now. I think a Dutch comedian dreamt it up. And the theatres will open on Wednesday the 19th from 7:30 till 9:30. And it will be full of hairdressers and beauticians, and they will be providing treatments during that time. And then artists will be performing around. So there's comedians and musicians, lots of different things happening. And it's just a protest to say why some industries are allowed to open, like a contact industry, and the theatres remain closed. So I just think it's a cool thing to be aware of, a cool initiative. And hopefully someone listens and things start moving in the right direction. Or maybe that's too political, but there you go. But on to some things that we can do. Since the announcement on Friday, Just Jason has opened their doors. Just Jason is a dance school, and they run classes for all levels of experience in salsa and bachata. I've done some, they are brilliant. It's so fun to get dancing, get your body moving, especially in those genres. They're very experienced and they're very good at teaching. So this week they have open days every day. So basically the first day of the course is free, and that runs until the 23rd of January. So it's worth just going and checking it out because there's no commitment. And then they're running 6-week courses. You don't need a partner, they can partner you with people. But maybe in this situation you prefer to take a friend or a partner, and that's much better. But check them out. Super fun. I highly recommend it. Toastmasters Maastricht are running courses in public speaking. They do twice a month. So I think it's the 2nd and the 4th Wednesday of the month. So the next one is Wednesday the 26th at 7:30. I believe they're currently still online. It's not a teacher-led course. It's kind of a student-led course. You're evaluating each other and learning about public speaking, leadership skills. It sounds like a really good thing if that is something either that you struggle with or you want some practice and some tips with. Maybe I should check it out as well. For more online events, keep checking out Internations, for example. They have lots of courses and different meetings. And for now, that's all I can offer you. But look after yourselves, have a great week, and we'll await more announcements for more things that you can do, because I have Really a lot of recommendations for theatre things to see. So let's hope for that. Okay, bye.
Thank you, Cristina, the lovely Cristina from Maastricht.com. Check out their calendar of events, which over the next few weeks should hopefully start expanding. It's been very tough for Maastrichter, I think. Those of you who've been following us for a while, we had them on, must be over a year ago now when Maastrichter started, and I think it was just before COVID hit. I think just before the pandemic, they launched Maastrichter, and then all of a sudden the pandemic started, and it all went a bit wibble for everybody, of course, but for them who is promoting events and they've got no events to promote, that's really difficult.
Yeah, it's very hard when you're making your core businesses events, and suddenly, I mean, it's been a tricky one as well for other people, like food bloggers. Suddenly, okay, I can't go out to eat, and there's all these various areas that have been impacted. But fingers crossed, in the coming weeks and months, that things will explode and that they can overload us.
But Christina's been digging around there. She's found a few things going on. And we do actually have to mention her dog Mycroft, who joined her this week, the Schnauzer, who is absolutely adorable. So I think we should have more Mycroft, actually. Maybe we should have a Mycroft video every week.
Just a Mycroft segment in total, where we just have a clip of him running around or having a sleep or doing something dog-like. I don't know.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Maybe we should introduce Mycroft to Hugo, Petra's dog from Oilers.
Little and large there. That could be an interesting partnership.
This is just an excuse to have more fluffy animals on the show. Really.
Well, of course. I mean, give me the sign. Little Tubbs is here every week. He has a busy agenda, but I could maybe swing 5 minutes with him.
Well, we know what Little Tubbs is like. He shows his face when he wants to, not when we want him to.
I know, indeed. At the moment, he's asleep on the radiator. We will not see him today. It's much warmer downstairs. So. Well,
probably what's happening, he's chilling out now, and he's getting all relaxed, because he knows that it's time for This Day in History.
I went in on a high note and I had to stay there then. So there we go.
You did a marvellous job. You did a marvellous job. So Little Tubbs, yes, he's relaxed. He's got his paws out. Probably has. Does he have a glass of wine? Maybe has he a sneaky glass of wine when you're not looking?
He's more of a brandy. He likes a snuffle of brandy from time to time. He's very classy, as Little Tubbs.
Well, we know that. We've seen him in his sexy little bandanas on his Instagram account. Yes, he's got a bit of a Noel Coward about him, I would say.
Doesn't he just? Yes.
So today is Thursday, the 20th of January. 2022. We're nearly at the end of January already, and yes, it's getting lighter in the evenings. Hurrah! Even if it's cloudy, it's still lighter. Honestly, it is. And on this day in 1840, the Dutch King Willem II was crowned. And a year later, in 1841, China concedes Hong Kong to the British during the First Opium War. Of course, that ends up going back to them not that long ago, but the Brits had it for a little while there. In 1936, Edward VIII succeeds the British King George V, and the following year, in 1937, on this very day, the first US presidential inauguration day is held on January the 20th. It was previously March the 4th. Now, for those of you who don't know why that date was changed, well, this is because in days of yore, when they had the inauguration, when they had the election results come through, it used to take a long time for the word to spread across the US. So they waited until March the 4th before they had the inauguration day. But of course, these days you can find out within seconds.
Well, sometimes you find out even before it's happened.
I think you're right, actually. Yes. Yes, I think you're right. In 1950, Suriname becomes an independent part of the realm of the Netherlands. And now this was a slow day in 1971, but kind of ties in with what we were talking about earlier. John Lennon meets Yoko Ono's parents in Japan.
Ah.
It was a big day for him. In 1980, President Jimmy Carter announces the US have boycotted the Olympics in Moscow. Ooh. And in 1986, the first federal holiday honouring Martin Luther King happened. Martin Luther King Jr. I must listen to it. Now, also in this same year, the Channel is announced. That's the railroad tunnel under the Channel that we were talking about earlier. And you were saying that you have taken the train in the Eurotunnel. You've done this before, haven't you, Tracey?
Several times. We were going twice a year at one point with the Eurostar and the tunnel. It's so convenient because you land in St Pancras. From there, you hop on the tube, and then you're in central London 10 minutes later. So it's great. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing you may not know. The first design for the cross-channel tunnel was in 1802.
Good Lord.
Yes, and it was going to be lit by oil lamps, and it was for horse-drawn carts.
Gosh,
that would have taken a while.
I know, the poor dear.
Yeah, in 1834, the first rail tunnel proposal was for steam trains, and in 1880, an attempt of tunnel excavation started, and some of the original tunnels still exist today, apparently.
Wow.
But it took another 100 years. 1987, that was when the boring of the service tunnel starts in the UK. And in 1994, the official opening by Queen Elizabeth II and French President Francois Mitterrand happened on the 6th of May. In 1997, a nature reserve created using the soil from the tunnels opened. That's the Samphire Hoe. I don't know exactly what that is. In 2000, the start of the pet travel scheme for dogs, cats and ferrets.
Ooh, how cute.
So if you know anybody, I don't know anybody who's got a ferret, but if you know anybody, they can go through the Channel Tunnel. In 2006, they had the 100 millionth customer of the Eurotunnel. I don't think that was you because they might have mentioned it.
I think you might have won some kind of a prize for that one. So no, sadly it wasn't us. Gosh darn it.
In 2007, the Tour de France team travels through the tunnel. In 2009, 50 million vehicles have crossed the channel on Eurotunnel shuttles since 1984. And in 2012, the Olympic torch travelled through the tunnel on its way to the Olympic Games in London. In 2015, order of new truck shuttles enabled Eurotunnel to transport 2 million trucks by the year 2020. And in 2017, over 2 million cats and dogs have travelled on board the shuttle since the year 2000.
Wow, there you go.
Yeah. You haven't taken little Tubbs with you over, have you?
Well, Little Tubbs does have a passport, so he could go with us. He does, yes, but no, we haven't taken him. He doesn't really like travelling that much, to be honest with you. A car ride for half an hour is about as much as he'll be happy with. But no, I mean, we could, but we haven't had the reason to do that just yet. So who knows? Stay tuned. Little Tubbs in London.
Well, continuing on this day in 1993, Maya Angelou is the first African American and woman to recite a poem at the inauguration of US President Bill Clinton. In 1994, British comedy Four Weddings and a Funeral, written by Richard Curtis, premieres with Hugh Grant at the Sundance Film Festival. Do you remember this? In 1998, on this day, Dawson's Creek, created by Kevin Williamson and starring Katie Holmes, premieres in the US. I never watched Dawson's Creek, did you?
I did watch Dawson's Creek, yes. Not every episode, but I watched a bit of it for sure, yeah.
Well, this seems to be a day where there's some big programmes have been launched. 2006 on this day, High School Musical debuts. I didn't see that either. Zac Efron, he's gone on to do bigger and better things. 2008 on this day, Breaking Bad was launched. I haven't watched that either.
It's very good.
I have heard it's good. Yeah. I think I need to do a binge watch on that.
Yeah, you'll need to. It's worth it though. There's quite a few seasons now, but it was ever so good. Lots of twists in the tail.
Fair enough. In 2014, on this very day, credit cards of at least 20 million South Koreans were hacked.
Aye.
And on this day last year, Joe Biden is inaugurated as the 46th President of the United States, and Kamala Harris is the 49th Vice President, the first female Black or South Asian Vice President. And Amanda Gorman recites The Hill We Climb. And on that very same day, Joe Biden signs 15 executive orders on his first day to rejoin the WHO, the Paris Climate Agreement, and revoking the Keystone Pipeline and mandating masks on federal properties. Right, let's have a look at some birthdays. Well, we've got some biggies here. On this day in 1910, Joy Adamson, Austrian naturalist and author of Born Free, was born in Austria, and I think it's called Troppau. I think that doesn't sound very Austrian, but it's Troppau anyway. 1926, Patricia Neal, a favourite actress of mine and also wife of Roald Dahl, was born. 1946, American actor and director David Lynch was born in Montana. 1930, Buzz Aldrin, the American astronaut, was born. And 1971, on this very day, Gary Barlow, English pop singer from Take That, was born in Frosham in the UK. Happy birthday to them. Happy birthday. Anybody else is having a birthday today? Hope you're having a lovely time. And that was this day in history. Thank you.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you very much. It's funny with this days in history. There's quite often seems to be a day where very similar events take place over the course of a few years. I don't know if that's a coincidence. Some people don't believe in coincidences, but why this is a very good day for releasing what is going to go on to be a big successful programme or film, I really don't know.
Who knows?
Who
Maybe
knows?
someone can investigate.
Who knows? We have got the lovely Maggie Holman coming up after the news. She's going to be talking about her career as a writer here in Maastricht. But before that, I think Tracey's going to get us up to date with what's going on around town.
Yes, well, the news in any case.
Tracey Taylor with the news.
Thank you, Joe, and good evening, everyone. It's January 20th, and you're watching the Maastricht edition on Facebook Live. First, a look at your weekend weather, and there is a code yellow warning in place for Limburg tonight due to severe slippery conditions and the possibility of wintry showers. Do take care if you must go out, and be cautious when driving. Looking ahead to tomorrow and Friday will bring a mix of sunny spells and rain showers. Saturday and Sunday are expected to remain dry, but will be overcast. Daytime temperatures will reach 7 degrees over the coming days. Moving to your news bulletin for tonight. The European Union has threatened massive economic sanctions if Russia attacks the Ukraine. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken rallied allies ahead of last-ditch crisis talks with Russia aimed at preventing war. Western countries are seeking to present a united diplomatic front before Mr. Blinken meets with the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in Geneva tomorrow. Mr. Blinken visited Ukraine yesterday and met German, French and British ministers in Germany today. US President Joe Biden also gave his clearest indication yet that he believes a Russian attack is likely. Spain is leading calls for governments to start tackling COVID-19 like a seasonal flu, despite opposition from the World Health Organization and warnings that the approach is premature. With governments and populations worldwide desperate for an end to the pandemic, discussions about when the virus might be reclassified have intensified. Meanwhile, Austria's parliament is expected to approve making COVID-19 vaccinations mandatory for adults from next month, becoming the first European country to do so. MPs from all parties, except those from the far right, are expected to vote in favour of the new law. To date, 72% of Austrian residents are fully vaccinated, which is in line with the European Union-wide average. Moving to domestic news, and last night people took to the streets in various places across Limburg to demonstrate against the coronavirus measures. The demonstration started at 7 p.m. and was in the form of a light parade. It seems 200 people took part here in Maastricht on the walk through the city. It's believed all protests across the province went peacefully. The mayors of about 30 cities across the Netherlands have asked the cabinet to revise the coronavirus policy. It's felt the current approach puts too much pressure on citizens and local governments. Next to that, over 44,000 people have signed a petition launched by Dutch Hospitality Association, KHN, calling on the cabinet to immediately relax the restrictions imposed on the catering sector. This follows last week's press conference when it was announced that bars, cafes and restaurants would need to remain closed. The next press conference is planned for Tuesday, January 25th. The combination of Omicron and the flu has sick leave in the Netherlands exceptionally high at the moment. Occupational Health and Safety Services report an increase in absenteeism from 30 to over 50%. And according to an RIVM study, it seems a third vaccination or booster is very effective in preventing severe consequences of COVID-19 and protects for 97% against hospitalization and 98% against intensive care admission. It should be noted, however, that the study was conducted when the Delta variant was dominant. And finally tonight, the European Fine Art Foundation, or TEFAF, has announced that the 35th edition of the fair will now take place from Saturday 25th to Thursday 30th of June at the MEC in Maastricht. For this 35th edition, TEFAF Maastricht will welcome a wide and varied selection of exhibitors in a completely new format. More information regarding the participating traders and details about the event will be announced soon. And that's it for tonight. For more local news, you can follow RTV News in English on Facebook and Instagram. If you are a local business, be sure to check out the Support Your Local Business South Limburg Facebook page, a joint initiative between #Maastricht and the Maastricht Edition. And if you want to discover events, concerts, and cultural activities going on in Maastricht and the surrounding area, head on over to the partner of our website, maastrichter.com. And if a historical walking tour is more your thing, then check out Meet Maastricht, the key to your city. And finally, don't forget that you can always find us on the Maastricht Edition Facebook page, on YouTube, on Redbubble, and on Instagram. For all the details, check out the maastrichtedition.nl.
Nicely done, our Trace.
Thank you, my dear. There we go.
Now, here's a funny thing, because just before we came on air, I was saying to Tracey, I saw something in the week that was going to be worth mentioning, and I can't for the life of me remember what it was. I went off at a completely different tangent, going, I think, was it something that Michelle mentioned, or maybe it was somebody else, and you just brought it up in the news there. TEFAF.
Oh my God, there you go. So I had it covered without even realizing.
Of course you had it covered. I knew you would.
Yeah, of course, TEFAF was supposed to take place in March, wasn't it?
Yes.
And it had been relocated and replanned and everything else. And now apparently June is the date. So
But it's such a huge event here in Maastricht.
Yeah, it's a very big event, and it brings a lot of, well, of course, the fabulous arts and sculptures and everything else. But it also brings a lot of business for the economy, of course, the local economy, because everywhere books up with hotels, restaurants, cafes, that people are also shopping in the clothing stores and things like that. So it's definitely a win-win for Maastricht and the surrounding areas, because people do tend to maybe make a weekend of it if they're coming. And you know, if you're able to go to the TEFAF and buy a painting, then you probably have a few extra quid to spend. So
yes, and you probably come in on one of those private jets that is hanging out at the airport.
Possibly, yes. So imagine.
Well,
anyway,
let's see if our guest actually is going to be one of the people that's going to be heading over to TEFAF and buying one of those lovely paintings, because we've got Maggie Holman who's going to be joining us this evening. She, as we said, local author living here in Maastricht, and she's going to be telling us all about her books. I believe she's loitering there somewhere.
I see something.
I don't see Maggie, but I think she's there somewhere.
Hold on.
There she is. Hello, Maggie.
Hello.
How are you? Welcome to the Maastricht Edition.
Yeah, thank you. I'm good, thanks.
Lovely to have you with us. We were just talking about TEFAF there. Is that somewhere that you would be heading over to have a look at the art?
Sorry, could you ask that again?
TEFAF. We were just talking about TEFAF, the big art exhibition that's going to be here in June. Is that something that would be of interest to you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Trying to joining things in Maastricht now that we're here. Mm.
Great
Oh, yes.
stuff.
Well, it's a good one to join in. It's quite a big thing, isn't it? So it's happy that we're going to see it back in the city again this year. So be sure to go. It's definitely.
Thank you.
Now, as we were said in your introduction, local author here in Maastricht, but obviously from your accent, we know that you're not from these parts. So where are you originally from, Maggie, and how did you end up in Maastricht?
Okay, it's a bit of a long story. I'm from Newcastle upon Tyne originally, and then I went first from the north all the way down the south to Gloucestershire and lived there for 15 years. And then in 2009, we decided we wanted to come to Europe. So we went to Amsterdam and spent about 12 years there. And then last year we went to Belgium, and because we needed to move before the end of Brexit, and we didn't like it, so we came back. But we stayed south because we've kept our apartment in Belgium. So we kind of want to touch base with that in the Ardennes and have a break and, you know, kind of get in the trees. So, so we thought we'd come here. Yeah.
Smashing. I'm just going to say to our listeners, for those who don't realise, Newcastle, of course, is in the UK. And so it really is in the north of England, just below Scotland, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Not far at all from the border. Yeah.
Did you used to pop over to Scotland quite a lot?
Yeah, well, especially when we were kids, we used to holiday there all the time. Yeah, so it was really easy to get to. Go to Edinburgh to the festival every year, and
Oh, how nice! Edinburgh is also on my list this year to visit Edinburgh. I've never been, so I really want to go one time. I have been to Newcastle once, though. I was on a night train from London to Aviemore in Scotland, and we drove through Newcastle.
Okay,
great. That was it.
I've had quite a few nights out in Newcastle, and it can get quite raucous there.
Oh, no. Really? Oh God.
Yeah, it is. It's a busy city.
Well, those days are well and truly over. That was in my wild youth.
Misspent youth.
Yes. But so these days you're living in Maastricht and you're writing books. Is this something that you've always done, Maggie?
Yeah. I've always written as when I was young, a choice of hobby. I was a pretty shy person, I think, looking back when I was a child. I was pretty introverted and withdrew into fictional places, if you like. I was always making stories up and enjoyed writing. And then I had to, as I grew older, had to study and think about work. I couldn't work as a writer, but I never stopped writing. And I was always trying to do something. And as I had a bit more time on my hands when the kids grew up and left home and stuff, I kind of was able to take it a bit more seriously. So, yeah.
And the genre that we see in your books, is that it's kind of supernatural? Is that right to say? It has a supernatural kind of theme?
It's kind of, they call it speculative fiction, where and everything I write is not realistic. Like it quite often I write things that are set in the real world, but there's something different about it. So someone with a skill that's not real, a fantasy skill or a fantasy place they go to, or people that are not human, or and sometimes it's like traditionally supernatural. It's just a ghost story. Sometimes it's a bit weirder than that, and so that's what I can't help doing that. That's where it goes. So I don't intend to do that. It's just what happens, and I find it hard to read and write realistic fiction because it just feels like there's something missing all the time.
Well, I think it's an interesting genre, actually, because as much as there's fantasy going on, I think it must be very difficult to write it in a credible way, because if it's very over-the-top fantasy, maybe, you just don't believe that could happen. Fantasy's got to expand your mind, and you've got to be able to get involved in the storyline and the characters. But I think there's probably a thin line, isn't there, between actually being completely ridiculous with fantasy and actually being able to draw people in.
Yeah, but I think that's the interesting challenge about how you use your writing, because you can make anything believable as long as you get it right on the paper, if you like. So, you know, so sometimes you can watch something or read something by someone else and think that, and it can be realistic and think that still would never happen. That's not how people behave, or that's not the choices they make. But with fantasy, I think you can set up any premise you like, as long as you can make it believable, and people will suspend that belief if they're drawn in the right way. But that's the challenge. Yeah, that's quite hard. Yeah.
So where do you start? Because if people would be drawing on their life or their environment, events or something like that, how do you start with a basic storyline, or do you start with a character?
It depends, and I was just talking about this today at the bookshop. I quite often start with an image or a single thing I see happening, like watching a movie, or even just like a title or something. Something started off, and I tend not to plan. I tend to write instinctively, and then I find it kind of grows itself. It's a bit strange to explain, but it's after you've written like the first draft that you think, oh, actually, I can see what this is about now, and then I have to make it. Then I have to do the craft a bit, the editing, to make sure it is what it's supposed to be. So I don't sit down and say, right, I think I'll write a kid's book now. It just kind of it kind of works itself out. And I just, you know, like when I wrote Footprints in the Snow, which is my Christmas story for children, the first thing that came to me was the bit at the end. I think the part that's the climax of the story was like the first thing I saw. And then I had to work the story out to get to that point in a believable way. So, yeah, so it's hard to explain. It just kind of happens. So.
Are you the sort of person who wakes up in the middle of the night going, "Oh, yeah, that's an idea"?
Yeah, and I've just written my biggest story yet. It's like it's 40,000 words, which is not a lot, but it's the biggest thing I've written. And it was like, I was like waking up with hearing what people were saying, and I was like trying to do something else and thinking, you haven't got that scene right yet, you need to go and work on it. And it's just doesn't go away. It just wants you to work it out and write it down.
A labor of love. Maggie, you mentioned you were chatting earlier at the bookstore. I assume that's the English Bookstore here in Maastricht?
Yes, yeah.
Yes, and indeed, and I guess then the books that you have, they're actually on sale there as well, right? The physical books.
Yes.
Which is quite cool.
Yeah, it's great. Like, they're really helpful. They're really supportive of. I've not been here very long, and you really was made welcome straight away.
Yeah, they're a lovely bunch. Now, the reason I ask is we're getting a few questions coming in on Facebook about where people can buy your books. So if you're in Maastricht, then you can go to the English Bookstore, and I guess
you can get them on Amazon, but you can also get them at the bookstore as well. They're the kind of two reachable from Maastricht. Yeah, they sell in England too, but yes, that'd be great if people are interested in trying them. Yeah, and
absolutely.
we were talking today that it looks like we might be able to do an event where I can do a talk about the area that inspired 3 of the books I've written, and 4 of the books, and why it's such an interesting region where I used to live. So there's a specific slant on a talk. So I think later in February that's going to be.
Oh, wow. We'll keep an eye on social media for that. I'm sure that it will be announced in due course, but that will be quite fun. I've been to a few talks at the English Bookstore, and it's a lovely setting for that kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I've made friends with like 4 of the writers there now, and we've been connecting with each other a lot. We have a WhatsApp group, and Shakib's part of that as well, and we're kind of talking about how can we help each other, how can we do perhaps an event for all the writers as a big local thing, or just it's really taken off, so that's great.
Oh, that's very encouraging.
Yeah.
Very nice. All happening at the English Bookstore at the moment.
It's the cultural hub of Maastricht for sure.
There you go.
So how have you found it over the past couple of years then? Have you had a creative spurt while we've all been locked up in our little cages?
I was when lockdown first happened, I was still in Amsterdam, and I was teaching in an international school. So things didn't change for me when lockdown happened, because I became the team that looked after the key worker children. So school was still open for them. So I didn't feel COVID, and I was very, I didn't feel that I was really shut at home, and I was always too busy with school. I didn't get too much writing done while I was teaching, but I left the school job in October 2020 with the intention of moving to Belgium. And then I found I just had a lot more personal energy then when I was not going to work. So I actually wrote 3 books last year. Yeah, so I self-published 2 of them, which are 2 of the 5 that are available. And the other one that I just finished, I'm not going to self-publish. I'm hoping that I can get a traditional deal for that. So fingers crossed.
Excellent. So I think you've got one of your books there that you wanted to show us. Is this one of the ones that you wrote last year then?
No, these are older ones. I don't have the stock. Okay. My new ones have all gone, I'm sorry. But this is the first book I ever wrote in 2008. Okay. It's a set of short stories inspired by the Forest of Dean, which is the area I lived in where I want to do a talk about it.
Beautiful place.
It's pretty famous. They filmed Harry Potter there, and they filmed Doctor Who there. J.K. Rowling lived there for a while when she was at school. So
you're in good company.
It's for older readers because it's too weird for children. So it's it's quite challenging with the themes, and it's very dark. So if people are interested in it, it's not for children. This one is my Christmas book, which again is set in the same area. This is about a panther, and there's supposed to be a panther in the forest, so that was what inspired it, and some traveller children, and they have old skills where they can talk to animals and things. And this one I brought along is my novella, which is a ghost story. This is just a spooky story, and it's based on a flood that really happened there in the 1600s, but it's set in the present, and how the present interacts with the ghosts of the people who died then. So that's a creepy one, I hope.
Well, this is proper escapism, and I get the impression, especially over the last couple of years, this is something that people really want now, is just to be able to delve into a fantasy world, because the current world as it stands is a little bit on the depressing side. So I think fantasy is a very successful genre.
Yeah, I think so. And they do say fantasy is actually writing about the real world, because a lot of themes are the same. You know, you write stories about power or ambition or relationships or actions, consequences, events. Really, they do say you're really just writing about how the real world works, but you're just putting it in a different context. So.
And what are the plans for your next idea for a book? Is that already festering away?
Yeah, the Christmas story, the children's one, I'm going to make into a series of 4. So one of the books I wrote last year was part 2, called Save the White Stag. So the first story is about a panther, and the second one's about a white stag. And I want to have a 3rd and 4th book to round it off, because there are 4 children in the first story. So I realised when I wrote the second one that a different child of the 4 had the main character part, and then I thought it would be nice to have the other 2 books with the other children as the main characters, so they kind of all get a turn. So I would like to do that. And the cover designer that I used in London, if you saw the first 2 books together, he used the same template, and then he tweaked them to be each cover with a different colour scheme, and I want to do the same for the other 2. Yeah, so they kind of look uniform. Yeah.
Excellent.
So I think I'll work on those next.
Excellent. Well, Maggie, it's been lovely to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. We shall get the English Bookstore links and everything out there after the show. The new books, as and when they come online, let us know. We'd love to have you back on the show again to talk about them.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure, Maggie. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, lovely lady.
Yeah,
Very
so yeah, I mean, it's great that, as we were saying, this little cultural hub at the English Bookstore is happening. We've had a few writers on the show now, and Maastricht seems to be the place. I mean,
There you
really.
go. Yeah, no, it's very nice, very exciting. And I tell you, those books by Maggie, that one, The Knocking, ooh, I might get that one myself. I like a little dark fantasy fiction from time to time. So they're really cool. Yeah, lots of stuff going on, but it's really good to know, and especially the books for children, because I think if you can give young people the gift of a love of reading,
Absolutely.
it will stay with them for life. So
Absolutely.
it
You know,
really
I've
will.
just had an idea. Maybe we should get her to have a chat with Lucy, because Lucy from Meet Maastricht, of course, who we've got coming up next, she might be able to give Maggie some ideas about the history of Maastricht, and maybe we could get Maggie to base some kind of historical fantasy storyline around the city. That would be interesting.
Well, I tell you, while we ponder that, maybe we should check in with Lucy for her latest installment. What's she talking about this week, Joe?
Oh, it's a surprise.
Oh, well, then
But
everyone
let me say, you might want to get into the habit.
Oh.
Here's Lucy. Meet Maastricht.
Well, hello there to all the history buffs and Maastricht lovers out there. Your weekly 5 minutes of getting you up to starting speed on one of the interesting locations in Maastricht. I thought today I would talk about one of the big convent monastery buildings we have in the city. There's loads of them. There were even more. This particular order belongs to a wave of orders that were monastic orders that were founded in the High Middle Ages, so 12th, 13th century. This is also the era in which in Europe, Western Europe, cities are coming back. After the dissolution and the decay of the very urban Roman Empire, quite a few cities were deserted or disappeared altogether. But in the 12th, 13th century, there's a new drive to build out larger settlements where people could be free, where they were not subjected to the same harsh regiments that applied in the countryside, where people lived under the authority of lords, knights. This urban renewal went hand in hand with a great need for a renewal in the church. Many felt it had become too rich, too powerful, too lax, too decadent, immoral, unjust, just lording it over the people like all the other lords. This was, of course, the core of the criticism that Martin Luther leveled at the church in the 15th century, which caused a great rift between what are now the Catholics and the Protestants. Luther was protesting the abuses. He was not the first, he was not the only one. And the monastic orders I want to put a spotlight on today were already doing that in the 12th century. These orders were generally not intended to become orders. The founder of the Franciscans was not out to start an order. His name was Francis, hence Franciscans. Francis of Assisi, from a wealthy family, living it up. You know, the rich young kid, happily galloping about until he got ill and saw a few deeper truths in life and decided to forsake all worldly goods and pursuits and spent the rest of his life preaching, bringing people, and if they would not listen, bringing the animals back to the true faith, back to God. The present Pope, Francis, took his name Francis from this Francis of Assisi to follow his example of simplicity and deep faith and taking care where possible of the poorest in a society. Their followers, Francis's followers, and the female followers of his colleague, so to speak, Clara, they made a vow to remain poor. Not only they themselves personally, but also, and that was a new thing, for the monasteries that they wound up founding. Of course, that never worked for very long, because the grateful faithful would keep donating stuff. So even in spite of themselves, they would become rich. Still, the two churches that Maastricht still has that were made by the Franciscans and their comparable order, the Dominicans, now the bookstore, you all know it. They are large, simple preaching halls. And it is very, very fortunate that both those churches still exist, even though both their monasteries have disappeared to a large extent. The Franciscans were driven out of the city three times, and last time they were allowed to come back, they had given up on their original church and monastery and built a new one, which is now the administration building of the University of Maastricht. They also built a third one that no longer exists. The first one, still standing, is also publicly accessible after long years of having served as a military arsenal and an orphanage and all sorts of things. Today it houses the archives, and when everything opens back up, they will be very happy to welcome you. Go and have a look, wander about the building, and maybe even ask for a tour in the 4 stories of underground bunkers where the archives are kept.
Thank you, the lovely Lucy from Meet Maastricht there. And look, Lucy's got a friend with her. Sorry, Lucy, Tracey.
Oh dear Lord, I know, this is Bear. Isn't he adorable? We love him. So we were talking about hugs, Joe. So I suddenly thought, well, maybe I should introduce the people to Bear. So there he is. His little feet, and he's got a cute little fat belly.
The only downside to this, of course, I think people are going to be knocking on your door for a hug with Bear because he looks very cuddly.
He's very cuddly and snuggly, and he's going to join me for the photograph to end the show because we're at the end, Joe. We are
at the end. I'm just going to be cuddling my bottle of wine. How sad is that? But it makes me happy. But we are at the end of the show. It's been fantastic. Thank you to Maggie Holman for joining us this evening. Don't forget, it is National or International Hugging Day tomorrow, so make sure you get those hugs in with the people that you love safely. And have a lovely weekend. We shall see you next week. Watch out for the slippery ice tonight. It's going to be very, very cold. We'll see you next Thursday. Thanks ever so much. Bye for now. Bye.